Adrian's getting her drinks. Cheryl, oh, my dog's just coming in. Sorry, there'll be a walk across the floor. A little dog will appear any minute. Um, Cheryl rang me a couple of minutes ago, and I said, I am coming. I'm just getting my coffee for the Elman Cafe. We've got to have our drink. Anybody else got the drinks for the Elman Cafe? Well, we're in a cafe. Yeah, we're supposed to. Yes, exactly. We're supposed to have a drink. Excellent. Um, so it's nice to see you all. And when we seem to meet in Zoom tiles all the time now, it's sometimes quite nice to uh, engage with the person next to you in the Zoom tile. So, which way will I point? I will point towards Dennis. So work out which way you're pointing and maybe just shake hands with the person next to you in the Zoom tile. So mine will go, mine I'm going to the back of the room and I need to go that way. I'm going to Cheryl actually. I'm Cheryl. Yes, let's do it that way.
And of course we're all in different orders depending on, so not everybody sees the same exact order. So when you were pointing up my screen, which was fun.
So very nice to meet you all anyway, and a few familiar faces, people that I have met before. So it's very nice to see you again. And I'm hoping that over the next course of the next kind of hour, I can maybe give you some insights, some value, hopefully some things that you can take away and integrate into your practice. And of course, I'm open for any questions at the end. What I would suggest, though, is that if you have questions whilst I'm going through the material, just write them down as opposed to type them straight in the comments, because otherwise I'll see the comment and it'll completely throw me off track and I'll end up talking about something completely different. So to keep me going on the right track for you, I have got a little bit of a PowerPoint to go through. And say any questions, I'm here to help you for the duration of this cafe meetup. So, anything at all, I can either ask them at the end or jot them down and type them in the comments at the end. So hopefully, am I a co-host? Oh, yes, I am a co-host. Excellent. So we're going to be looking at then, how do we work with effective weight loss? And, I always take it back now to a lot of the time we've got to find a way to interrupt the patterns and the trances. What are the patterns and the trances that our client is experiencing on a daily basis? Because if we can highlight the main ones and make a difference to that main one immediately, then we're going to get really fast results with somebody. And I always think when we're working with weight loss, although, there may be layers of protection and, maybe there's something underlying it all that needs to be solved, and that might be the case. But I tend to find that when I see clients for weight loss, what they've come for is weight loss. So, they're not necessarily open to us. Oh, what I think you should do is we should work with all this underlying trauma first. That's not what they've come for. So we've got to give them what they've come for. So if we can highlight some areas where we make a difference straight away, they start to feel better. We can work on the other things in subsequent weeks. Cheryl didn't introduce me. Rude. But anyway, I will introduce myself. Cheryl and I know each other so well, and I already know some of you on this call, but for those of you who don't know me, I'll introduce myself. So my name's Sheila Granger. I'm in the UK, in a city called Hull, which is in Yorkshire. And I'll try not to go into my broad Hull accent, because then otherwise Cheryl will have to translate the whole of this session. She's become very good at translating for me, though. So when we do a demo, she might pipe in with the odd word that will translate everything beautifully. So I became known in the hypnosis world. I've been working full time in this industry for coming up to 17 years. How has that even happened? For 17 years, full time. And I had a past life, we all did. I used to work for the government as a fraud investigator. So I investigated social security fraud. So people maybe who weren't quite as disabled as they said they were. But I found them sometimes to be very good on the golf course on a weekend. Although the claim form said, I'm so disabled, I can't cut the food up and put it into my own mouth. So there's a little bit of a disconnect. I was also a judge, I was a magistrate. Take him to the nearest tree and hang him until he is dead. Sorry, ma'am, you can't do that. It's just a parking ticket. Oh, okay. But what it did give me, and I don't know, we fall into this industry, don't we? We all did something before. And I think how it really helped me, my past lives, if you like, is that, I had this fascination with what makes people tick. How, when you see people in a court, what were the choices? When you look at the NLP presuppositions, everybody's making the best choice available to them. What happened that was the best choice to whatever crime they committed. So, I liked people watching, but because I was also on a proactive team, so I was the manager of a proactive fraud team. This meant that I didn't get a piece of paper that said, you know, the next door neighbour's up a ladder and he shouldn't be, or I shouldn't be able to do that with his disability. I had to go out and find it. So I used to go and do raids on like the stevedores where they're unloading ships. I used to trundle my way down there and say, I want to talk to every single person that you've got working on the ship today. Or I used to go to greenhouses where they were growing stuff. They've got a lot of labourers there who shouldn't have been there. So I was proactive. And I think by being proactive, that has served me well in my hypnosis career. We've got to go out and find stuff and do stuff. And I think probably that background gave me some of those bravery pills that I think we all have to take sometimes with our practice. So I've got a few awards behind me and business awards. So I've kind of learned how to grow a business. And I think that's so important in whatever niche that we're in. We've got to learn the business side of it if we're going to do this full time. Authored a few books, been in a lot of press and media, really helped me grow my business by getting featured in the media. And, hopefully what I try to do now is help other hypnotists to build their practices and, all that. So what I'm here to do today is really just share my experiences of working with weight loss. I'm not the font of all knowledge. Unfortunately, I have learned over time, which I think we all do, and I continue to learn. And sometimes our absolute best teachers are our clients. We learn so much from them and from actually getting out there and doing things in the real world. So I built my practice in a doctor's office. I built it to seeing between 35 and 50 clients a week in just under 3 years. I wouldn't recommend that as a business model. It was horrific. It was hideous. It was hideous hours. I don't know at the end of the day who had their eyes shut the most, whether it was me or the client at 7 o'clock on an evening, having just done 10 sessions back to back. But it showed that it is possible. It is possible. And that when that happened, that was just shortly after the 2007 financial crash. So when we think, well, economy's at play, there's not enough clients, that is just a story we are telling ourselves. Because in any economy, at any time, there will be people who can afford your services. There'll be some people who can't, and of course, people's economies change. I understand that. But what really happens with your hypnosis practice and your clients is largely down to what goes on in our own head. So that's a little bit about me. And what I thought I'd cover today is the 6 types of eaters that I found that show up in our practice. This is not to put a label on somebody, and some of you might recognize yourself on some of these when I go through them. Some clients be a mix of all of them, but looking at patterns and trances, that's why looking at these different types of eater can help us think what's the most important thing to work on first. We're going to look at, how we can break food associations. We're going to do a little bit of a group demo as well. So we're going to see, can our imagination replicate some of the popular weight loss programs today? So a lot of people today, they're looking at the weight loss jab. So can our imagination replicate some of the effects of that just with hypnosis? So we'll have a look at that. And we're going to look at, okay, how do we interrupt the trance, and some techniques perhaps that you could use with clients for long-term weight loss. And I'll talk a little bit about, how do you create a strong client attraction system that keeps your practice thriving. So I'm just going to stop my share 1 second, because then I can see you all. Just give me a wave if you're on the right call. Oh, excellent. Yes, good. Yes, just want to double check that. So, okay, let us continue then. So this isn't a particularly good image, and it's probably an image that I need to change. And it's only when I opened the PowerPoint, I thought, I need to change that image. If you think about our associations with food, it's not about one thing, is it? When we were born, we probably had a perfect weight control system because we cried when we were hungry, stopped when we were full. But over time, this little seedling has grown, hasn't it? And we've had suggestions that have been made to us, and we all know how strong suggestions are. Eat it all up, you'd be a big boy, don't leave food on the table. My mum had this thing where she said, you couldn't, like if you went to, if there was a buffet somewhere and you got your plate, have a sandwich, and I'll have that. Whatever you put on your plate, you had to eat. Do not put things on your plate that you're not going to eat. And so that was my mum's thing. Whatever was on your plate, you had to eat it. Otherwise, you were being wasteful. There was children dying in Africa. Well, pop it in a box and send it to them. So, and how many of us, show our love to our family with food? I know, and I can be as guilty as the next person. So my daughter is 34. I have a grandson who's 5. When I look after him for the day for her, she's at work, and I look after him for the day. He's at that age where, at the end of the day, you need to go and lay in a darkened room with a flannel over your head because he's so energetic. I'm just like, they just never stop. I know why you have your children when you're younger. But it's Mother's Day here in the UK tomorrow. So I said to my daughter, I'll come round. I'm going to bring some breakfast things. We'll do brunch. And so I've been out this morning. And I've got, all these different, there's all these different fruits and pastries and, because, and I'm like, I've only bought for 10 people. Why do we do that? Why do we do that? But, we show our love. So we've got associations with that, haven't we? We've got associations with feeling loved when there's more food about. There might have been, trauma. We might have used food for some kind of emotional crutch at some time. Get given a bag of sweets as a child, and all of a sudden you might be into, comfort eating with sweets because as a child it made you feel better. So we've got this massive, mix of things going on with our associations with food. We haven't start on beliefs about things yet. So, how do we help our client when it looks like that? Because if I was just to, just nip a bit off the edge there about something, well, it's going to grow back, and we've still got all this stuff going on. If we start wading through the middle of it and trying to regress straight away and wade into the middle of it, well, we're probably going to get drowned by all this other stuff that goes on. And, we can open a can of worms that we wish we hadn't opened. So, when we look at all those different food and weight loss associations, the aspects to it, when we see a client for weight loss, let's not be under any illusion that we are the specialist in the room. They are. They've done them all. They've done every single diet you can imagine. So they are more of an expert at it than we are. And we know that diets don't work. It tends to be something that's a temporary basis. It's not really changed how somebody thinks about food. I mean, even with the weight loss injections, when somebody stops it starts to all go back on again, because nothing's really changed. A lot of the clients that we see may have be almost set up with a belief system for failure. Or that this is going to be really hard. This is going to be something I'm going to have to be really, on a Sunday night, I sometimes think, I'm kind of organising myself for the week, and I think, right, this week I'm going to get a grip of myself. I'm going to get myself out in the morning for a walk before I start work. Actually, I make ridiculous things, like I'm going to go swimming. I'm going to swim for an hour every morning, get myself up at 6 o'clock, get up an hour earlier, go swimming for an hour every morning, because it makes you feel so much better when you do it. So, I get the bag packed, and I think, right, okay, come an evening, I'm not eating any chocolate or I'm not drinking any wine. That's going to go out of the window. It's not going to happen. And when we say all those things, and then by Monday night, I've not been swimming for an hour, I've not got up an hour earlier, and I've got the chocolate on the night time. Now when we say all those things to ourselves, we do mean it, don't we? When I say that on a Sunday night, I absolutely mean it. I absolutely mean it. But then life kind of gets in the way and we go back into our normal routine again. So people tend to think that, this is going to be really hard. We've then got all these suggestions, that have been made to us, say they eat it all up. Just out of interest, just in the chat box, what suggestions were made to you about food as you were growing up? Were you told anything in particular? What were your suggestions? Let's see who was told what as a child. Yeah, that's a great one, isn't it? Mary, eat up and be big. I'm going to show you a photograph soon of somebody who was told to eat it all up because he'd be a big boy. And it's amazing how right our parents are with things. Cheryl, children are starving in China. Eat all the food on your plates. Marsha, the children in China are starving, so eat your meat. Eat your meat. That's a new one on me. Be grateful. There's always people starving in the world. Yes, I must be grateful. Clear your plate. Grandparents giving you your sweet things. So for Danielle, food was used as a prize and a punishment. Debbie, we were always told that there were many starving children in the world and that we should be grateful for whatever we were given. So Stefano, I'm Italian, so pasta and wine was a given from age 5. Makes you strong. Make you strong. And Adrienne, yeah, see how strong you become. Weren't your parents right? So it was a reward for passing exams. And Cheryl's mum hid the chocolate. She was the one to dole it out, was she? That just reminds me. So my mum, You know, I mean, when we were younger, we were given 3 meals a day: breakfast, lunch, and dinner. We never got offered anything in between. And if you think about it now, when we look at how we put the foundations back of eating in place with somebody, because there isn't any foundations anymore, is there? We can all have whatever we want whenever we want it, in whatever quantity. It's just freely available. But what my mum used to do for us for a treat on a Saturday night, in fact, it's Saturday night tonight, isn't it? Used to do on a Saturday night. She used to go out and she used to buy one bottle of Coca-Cola, so like a big bottle like that. And she used to buy 6 bags of potato chips. That's what you call them, isn't it? We call them crisps, potato chips. So she used to buy those. And on a Saturday night, we could have one glass of Coca-Cola and a little packet of potato chips. And that was our treat for the week. And she used to bring it in on like one of those hostess trolleys into the lounge. I was going to bring the hostess trolley into the lounge with the glasses and the Coke and the crisps. And that was our treat for the week. The kind of the real Saturday night treat. Whereas now we can just have whatever we want whenever we want it. There's not a treat anymore for something, is there? It tends to be just anything we want whenever we want it. So our parents were right to a certain extent. They did train us the right way. Okay, so let's move along. So we've all had suggestions made to us. The thing I've found with quite a lot of weight loss clients who come to see me is their motivation to change may be quite low. And I'll get into that a little bit more when we get into these types of eaters. With a weight loss client as well, we need to somehow manage their expectations to what is and isn't going to happen here. Because, clients are just like us. Everybody wants to wake up thin tomorrow. We don't want to go on the journey with this. It's just like, I just want to be 3 stone lighter tomorrow. Thanks very much. But if the client comes to see you and they think everything's going to happen really fast, then, their belief system can drop out, that this can be something that can work for them. So we've got to manage their expectations of how much they are likely to lose, or reduce by, if you want to not use the lose word. I remember a lady coming to see me. Now, I work initially over 4 sessions, a session a week for 4 weeks. And each session about an hour's duration. But a lady came to see me for her second session. And she said to me, I said to her, how have you got on this week? And she said, I don't think it's worked. I don't think it's worked. And I said, oh, right, okay. I said, tell me about that then. I said, do you feel like you're eating less? And she said, oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm eating about 1/3 of what I was eating before. But she said, it's not working. Oh, okay. I said, just out of interest, I said, have you weighed yourself? Have you been on the weighing scales? And she said, oh, yeah, I've lost 6 pounds. Now, I think you're in kilos. But anyway, 6 pounds. I think we've got 2 point something kilos to a pound, I think. So she'd lost a decent amount. So I said, so let me see this then. You've lost 6 pounds. You're eating only 1/3 of what you were eating before. Which bit of this isn't working? And she said, well, the thing is, you said that on average, people lose 7 pounds in the first week. So the words that we tell, how we talk to people about it, clients are taking on board our suggestion from the minute we talk to them, from the minute they come into our room, right into the minute they leave the room, any messages that you send to them in between. So we've got to be really careful about, managing people's expectations and what it is we say. We will have people who have got emotional associations to food because, they've used it to soothe their soul in some way. But I think as humans, we all have something to soothe our soul. Now, for some people, they might do that in a fairly healthy way. They might go for a walk or have a soak in the bathtub but we all use something to soothe our soul. Every single one of us. In some way, what do we do to soothe our soul? There may be some depression at play as well with a client. So, the weight may be layers of protection that are being put on. Maybe something, an incident might have happened when somebody was younger and they wanted to make themselves less attractive, and so they put on the weight. Maybe layers of protection. So there can be a lot involved when we see somebody for weight loss. But I pretty much found that people tend to fall in to one of these 6 types. Type number 1 is the busy body. Now, busybodies, they have a very hectic, full-on lifestyle schedule. They've got no time, they're rushing about, they might literally just eat on the run. Or they might go hours and hours and hours without anything at all and think, oh, I've not eaten. And then they will overeat at that point. They're probably highly stressed as well. So, you've got the impact of the stress cortisol, impacting on, belly fat or whatever it is. But the busybodies, they're very busy people. So this starts to give us a clue then, if we've got a busy body, of, well, what should we try and adapt to first? So that might simply be, I get people to begin with to just eat 3 times a day, breakfast, lunch and dinner. And there is no change without change, but just getting them to stop and not eat on the run, because all the times they're kind of eating on the run, they're eating in a trance. So when we go back to what are the trances patterns we need to interrupt, they will probably be eating in a trance. So they might be eating while they're driving the car, or just eat lunch while I'm driving the car in between appointments. They're probably highly likely as well to be people who go a long period of time without anything, and then they'll maybe overeat on an evening. But we need to reduce the stress somehow as well. So we've got our busy bodies, if you like. We've then got our comfort zoners. Now, I see a lot of comfort zoners, and these are the ones that we've got to keep an eye on their motivation for change. Now, these are people who, I traditionally see people who are in the, I would say, 40 to 65 age group. They're probably the main majority of my client base. And they've reached an age in their life where financially they're fairly sound. They're in a stable relationship. They might have been married for years at this point. They enjoy a nice lifestyle. They have nice things. They have nice vacations. They enjoy, meals out. And they might already eat fairly healthily. There's probably no major emotional issues going on. But because everything else in the world is quite nice, their motivation to change may be quite low. Because although it would be nice if they lost weight, I'd like to lose weight, it's not the end of their world if they don't. Can anybody else recognise clients like that? They say, Helena, I know you've seen quite a few people with, so with these kind of people, we have to work on their motivation, because otherwise they'll be very enthused when they first come and see you, but the enthusiasm kind of starts to disappear when they don't do the things anymore. We've then got our emotional eaters. So these are people who, they eat when they're happy, eat when they're sad, kind of eat for every single emotion. And they're using food to soothe their soul. So when we look at, trances, patterns, etc., is there something that we can replace with these people? that's going to give them the same feeling or same soothing, if you like, that that food is doing? Can we change it? We've then got our sedentary scoffers. Now, I think, there's more people than ever now working from home. I think you've got it in the United States as well. We've certainly got it in the UK, that the government and businesses are trying to move people to get them back into offices a little bit more. But we tend to be very sedentary. People tend to have jobs where they're sitting in front of a computer all day. There can be very little movement going on. And, a lot of the time as well, what they're doing is they're eating everything in a trance. So they might have their breakfast while they're driving their car. They might be eating their lunch at their desk in front of their computer. When they get back home, then they're probably, eating their evening meal in front of the television. So there isn't one single one of those meals that's been eaten consciously. Every single one is eaten in a trance. And when we eat in a trance, we're forming no connection to that whatsoever. We'll just go to the default of eating everything on the plate. We've then got our super snackers. I used to work when I was a fraud manager. There was a lady who used to sit on this bank of desks at work. And there was this lady who brought in all these tubs with her in the morning. And she had like a tub of grapes, a tub of carrots, all these little tubs of food. And she just used to eat all day, literally all day. Now, she thought that she was being healthy, because, she was putting healthy foods in most of the pots. But sooner or later, no matter how healthy that food is, we are probably putting in more than our body needs. We're not giving it chance to go into its rest period or to digest or, for anything that's already there. We're just on a constant top up. And in order to help our client recognize what's hunger and what's having had enough, then there has to be a break. There has to be a break. Most of us now, I don't think, have we ever really felt true hunger in a long while. We just keep topping up. We'll eat when we're not even hungry. We'll eat because it's there. We'll eat because it's the social norm to do it, because it's now dinner time, so we'll eat our dinner. We'll be eating our lunch. I mean, I keep calling him partner, he's actually a husband now, but he'll eat his lunch and straight away he's eating his lunch and say, "What are we having for dinner?" It's like, what am I having next? It's become like the dog. So the dog is in with me now. I've got one of those dogs. He's 15 now. It's the size of a coffee table. He's only a Jack Russell. And he watches every crumb that passes the house. Every single crumb. And it's the size of a coffee table, completely our fault, because whatever we're having, like he'll has his own dinner, and then he'll have a little bit of ours, or that, he even now has the froth out of a cappuccino, we're thinking we're treating him at 15, or as 15, we'll treat him to these things, probably killing him. But yeah, so we've got with our super snacker then, again, they are eating in the trance. We know which patterns and trances we need to change. And then we have our supersize me. Supersize me, they're just like big portions. I like a lot. I like a lot on my plate. This can also happen when we've perhaps brought up children. Or we've brought up a family and, we've cooked for a family on an evening. And all of a sudden, the years have gone by, the family have flown the nest, and we're still cooking the same amount, but then we're eating it. So, we've not kind of adjusted to only cooking for a couple of people in the house or just for ourselves. So our clients may be a mix of, I'm just going to stop my share again a second. They're probably a mix of some of those ones, but can you see by identifying, you can start to see, well, okay, which patterns and trances do I need to interrupt as a hypnotist to bring about fast change? So can any of you recognize yourself in any of those? Yeah, so Adrienne, yeah, Dennis, we can start to recognize, yeah, Stefano, we can start to recognize ourselves. I can see you popped a question in, Stefano. I'm going to come back to that at the end for you, okay? Because yeah, that can be something that can come up. Okay, so let us go. Oh, let us go back to where we were. Oh, there seems to be more people here than the last time I looked. So welcome anybody new. Okay. So yeah, if you were a client, which type would you be? Or maybe what diet trance have you been under, even in your own hypnosis practice? Because we can all fall under that spell, can't we? So when we look then to get results with weight loss clients, the first thing on this list, I think probably is for any client, not just for weight loss, but there can only be one hypnotist in the room. There cannot be two. And what I mean by that, and it shows probably a bit more sometimes with weight loss clients, because they'll come and they'll come for weight loss, but then they'll start talking to you about their anxiety or something that's happening at work, or maybe an excuse for not doing something, or they might have health issues. And what they're doing at that point is influencing you. And they can send us down into a direction which we don't need to be in. We need to be on this line here. But they can start sending us off over here. And at that point, they have become the hypnotist in the room. They're giving the commands, they're making the suggestions, and they're doing the influencing. And I always, when I look back at a client session where I think it's not gone as well as I'd hoped it would, there has been a point where they became the hypnotist in the room every single time. Anybody else relate to letting other clients become the hypnotist? I'll just step back from that role and let you completely take it over. I think it's very easy to slip into that because, if we let people chat to us, all of a sudden they're doing the influencing. With our weight loss clients, we need to ignore all that things stuck together, all those different branches, and maybe just think about putting some foundations in place to begin with. Let's get back to basics and, suggest things that your client can easily achieve. I put right at the bottom of that list, I give a client some conscious guidelines to follow. I want them to do some things as well. So for weight loss, for example, I say, I want you to eat 3 times a day. I want you to eat consciously. I don't want you to eat while you're driving your car, watching the television. I want you to start being aware of what your body is telling you. The point you think, oh, is that my full signal? I want you to attempt to leave it at that point. So I want you to drink plenty of water. And just by giving them the guidelines, to be honest with you, if you set your guidelines right, they'll lose weight without the hypnosis. They're going to lose weight anyway, just by following this set of guidelines. But it's about not making it complicated. Set some realistic goals. So again, when we haven't got a why, it's very difficult to, and a why in the not too distant future. So if they've got a vacation coming up, okay, what size do you want to be by then? If I was to be able to get you to lose £2 a week, now I add that up, is that realistic that we're setting ourselves? The ones who haven't got a why, or the why is too far in the future, again, don't do as well, because they really don't need to do it now. Even though they're paying you, they don't need to do it now. I had one lady, she was getting married, and she only wanted to lose about £14, so not a huge amount. But she wasn't getting married for 2 years. It doesn't matter if she does it this, don't need to do it this week, the next week, week after that. It doesn't matter, because she's still got that big gap before she needs to be that person. So, we've got to work with them to set a really realistic goal. Think about it in terms of which trances do we need to break, and find ways to break the trance, to replace it with something else, something that the client can feel really good about. And I put on here about providing social proof where possible. Now, when I was in the doctors, what I had was a wall that was completely covered in before and after photographs, thank you cards, certificates, kind of my social proof wall, if you like. And what I used to do, and you can set it up so that it's almost behind you. I mean, although I do have a very nice home office, and I do, it's a very nice space. It's not very good for that kind of thing. And I also can't have a green screen because of where the windows are. The light just doesn't work right for green screens and things. But you could maybe do a Canva image or something that you upload that's your background screen that has things like that on it. Because what we want is the client's belief system to really go up, that we are the person who can help them. Where's the social proof? We need to be showing that wherever we can, be it our website, be it social media, provide social proof. What I used to do in the doctors, say I had this big wall that was covered in all these kind of things. And I used to invite the client in, get them to sit down. And then I used to say, I'm really sorry. I meant to bring a jug of water for us. I'll just nip out and get that now. It'll only be a couple of minutes. And I used to leave them sitting in that room, and all they're doing is sitting and watching, looking at that lot. So the belief system is really starting to go up. So what do we need to do to provide more social proof? It's worked for that person, and that person is just like me. So, yes, let's play imagination. Excellent. Okay. Are we all set to play a little game of imagination? See how good our imaginations are. Excellent. Now, it'll probably be coming up towards lunchtime for you. So I don't know if anybody's got a little bit of hunger going on, or doesn't really matter if not. What I want you to think about for a moment, I want you to imagine in front of you, you have a plate of food that you would maybe normally eat. Doesn't really matter what's on it. It doesn't matter if it's healthy, not healthy, doesn't really matter. But a plate of food that you might have either lunchtime or it might be for your evening meal, and just kind of imagine that in front of you, your normal plate of food. Can we all do that in a way? Can we all think of what that might look like for us? Excellent. Okay. And then, with these, if not, actually, we'll go with the bands first of all. If you were to imagine that you'd actually had physical surgery. So let's imagine that you'd had a gastric band fitted. You've been for the surgery, and gastric bands make your stomach smaller. They make you feel fuller quicker. That's pretty much what happens. So I want you to imagine, as though that's real, just using your imagination, that you have had a gastric band fitted. And then I want you to imagine now beginning to eat that meal in front of you. Often people do this with their eyes closed because it's much easier to use our imaginations. And just notice how much less of that you could maybe eat. If you'd had the gastric band fitted, how much less can you eat? Okay. Or how much of that plate could you actually eat before you felt full? And when you're ready, just open your eyes and come back to the here and now. just in the chat box, how much less of that plate did you eat? So, Carolyn, half, Helena, half. Marsha, so I'm going back to Marsha's comment earlier, the sedentary munch monster. So Marsha only got a couple of bites taken. Cheryl, half. Stefano left 2/3 on the plate. Yeah, so isn't it curious? Isn't it interesting? By just imagining that all of a sudden we can't eat as much. So I want you to imagine another one for me. Because the latest, of course, or the very popular thing at the moment is the weight loss injections. That's kind of the popular thing to do. And, again, traditionally, they are about suppressing people's appetites. So they don't feel as hungry, they feel fuller quicker. So this time, I'm going to get you to close your eyes again, and I want you to imagine that you've just had, or that maybe you're on a course of these injections that suppress your appetite, that make you feel fuller quicker. And it's really weird, this one, because when I imagine having had that injection, I feel it in my throat for some reason. Why would I do that? I feel it in my throat. How bizarre. But again, notice, okay, imagining that, how much of that food can you eat now? Might be even less, I don't know. Maybe it's on top of the band. Again, just open your eyes again for me for a moment and just have type in the chat box where you are with that. Quarter. I'm going to eat a quarter now. So Carolyn, I'm guessing that she can't eat anything. The cat ate Cheryl, the cat ate it. Carolyn, nothing. And again, just out of interest, where do you feel it in your body? You know, when you imagine that. Marcia said she feels a bit nauseated with it. It's weird, isn't it? And I get a bit of I get a taste in my mouth when I imagine something like that. I think, where's that come from? So I'm going to imagine a weight loss injection, and I get a taste in my mouth, and I can feel it in my throat. Where do you all feel it? Are you feeling it in your body? Are you feeling it in your head? Are you feeling it? Whereabouts do you feel it? Carolyn, is it in the stomach? Okay, so maybe I'm just the weird one. So Helena, you suggested throat, and so I did. Lower body, feel it in my feet. Feeling it in my big toe. Cheryl, dental, feels it in her teeth. Is it in your teeth, Cheryl? Injections numbing the throat. Yeah, so Stefano, I'm going to force it down, I'm going to eat it all. But I could feel it in my... That's what he's done as well, I can see him laughing. We will eat it all. I'll show you. Out of the rebellion side of me is just going to eat it all. It feels sick later, he'd be like, boo. You will when we get to this next demo, Stefano, you're going to regret that. You're going to regret having eaten all of that. Didn't like being out of control by using drugs. Yeah. Okay, so obviously that's just this is without any deep hypnosis or complicated techniques. We are purely imagining things, but we're acting. So if this was done on a full-blown hypnosis session with all the other parts added into it, you can start to see how it can become, quite powerful with clients. Oh dear. I've got another game to play with in a minute, which is my favourite one. When do I get onto that? So we know about getting people to imagine things, be it an imaginary gastric band, an imaginary weight loss jab. that it can really make a massive difference to our clients. So the first gentleman here, Pete, what was his surname? Pete. It'll come to me later on. So he was a truck driver. And men, I do find when I work with men, they lose the weight so fast, much faster than women. And they just seem to have this kind of, I'm just doing this now, and they get on with it. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's just the difference in between how men and women think. I honestly don't know. But he was a truck driver. He obviously drove his truck around all day. He stopped at service areas. He didn't get any exercise, and he lost again. I probably should have worked out the kilograms, etc. But he lost 12 stone in 10 months. And the second photo, this was actually 5 years after we'd finished our session. So he'd maintained it. And he sent me that photograph because that was at the top of some French mountains or something where he'd been cycling. Might be Swiss, I'm not quite sure. Calder. Somebody might want to look where Calder Calibre is. But French Alps, I think. But he had completely changed. He'd taken up exercise for somebody who he didn't used to do any exercise before. And there he'd gone on a cycling holiday with his friends, cycling vacation. And so that was 5 years afterwards. We must be coming up to 10 years now since I worked with him. And he's still, I say, it's still maintained. Because he sent me a Facebook message a couple of weeks ago. Somebody we worked with had a drug addiction problem. He wanted to know whether there was anything I could do to help. So this gentleman in the middle was somebody who one of my practitioners worked with, and he was in America. And this gentleman here, he was always told to eat it all up because he would be a big boy. Where are his parents' rights? And this was him afterwards. Kind of massive difference. This lady called Sonia. I've got a really funny story that I'll tell you about Sonia towards the end of this webinar. So Sonia, I think again she was lost about 10 stone, but I learned a lot of lessons when I worked with Sonia, because I remember saying to her after she'd lost the weight, do you feel happier now that you've lost the weight, or did you actually feel happier in yourself before? And she said in herself, she felt happier when she was bigger. And that was a big lesson for me, because I then did, do some more work with her. So, I mean, she wasn't unhappy with me, and she didn't view it that way. But when she said as she was bigger, she felt like kind of nobody took any notice of her. But as she'd lost the weight, she just felt exposed. So it was a big lesson for me with her. And when we're working with people who perhaps have got a lot to lose, there may well be identity, confidence, other areas that we have to work on at the same time. Somebody who's got a lot to lose isn't a 4-week quick fix. And it could be that if you do want to, I'll stop my share a minute. If you do want to work with people who have got, I mean, traditionally people come to see me who tend to be they want to lose about 3 stone. They are the average. They're the average. But if you've got somebody who has got a lot to lose, then I probably wouldn't offer them a 4-session program. I would be offering them, initial 3 months or a 6 months, or maybe you even want to offer a 12 months. And it makes business sense as well to offer different price entry points for people wanting to work with you, so that people can choose their level of spend, if you like. So we will have people who are willing to sign up for a 12-month program. Now, that's not necessarily going to see them every week. He could be doing the initial 4 weeks of habit change, but then you might be seeing them, once or twice a month. That then works on things as it comes up as they go through that journey. Because as they go on that journey, other things will pop up. So you might want to offer a longer kind of program for that. Just give me a wave. I'm still making sense with everybody. And we're still on, I'm still making sense. Excellent. Also, Adrian's got a converter out. Thank you, Adrienne. I always forget to do that bit and change it. I apologise. Okay. So, and we know that weight loss stories can put things in the news. So this was me 17 years ago. Look, hypnosis hasn't aged me a bit, has it? Working in this profession has made me completely haggard. So yeah, look like a young kid on the block, don't I? So again, weight loss stories with my practitioners. They've been in the news in New Zealand. We've been on Australia Today, in New York. And the thing is that what I love about it is that there's always people who want to lose weight. So regardless of economies where people might think twice about paying for anxiety or fears or that kind of thing, there are always people who want to lose weight. So we can't kind of run out of work, if you like. But the other good thing is they become a walking referral system for you. If you meet up with a friend and you've not seen them for ages and they've lost weight, and you think, oh my goodness, you've lost weight. What have you been doing? What's the first thing that people say? What have you been doing? So we get more referrals. I would also suggest that from a business point of view anyway, and educating the medical profession about how we can help, is that you have some system in place where you write to people's doctors, or even write to not even just the doctors, other professionals that may be working with this client of yours. Where else are they going? Who else are they seeing? And I would suggest that you send it. You've got to ask the client's permission, of course. I do that on the intake with them. Do I have your permission to write to your doctor? Or do I have your permission to write to other professionals who are working with you? Okay, who are they? Name and address. Most clients will say yes. When I start working with the person, I will send a letter of introduction to their GP. So I don't wait for the result. I send a letter of introduction. And it's your patients, their name, date of birth, just for your records, just to let you know this lady has started working with me. I understand she has type 2 diabetes and she's come to me for weight loss hypnosis. I work out of such and such a place. These are the clinical, if you can find any clinical evidence about something, you can pop that in it because they're interested in clinical evidence. You might say, I have a particular interest in working with, and you might name certain conditions that you're interested in working with. That might be, type 2 diabetes, autoimmune disorders. These are the clinical evidence that comes up with this. I will let you know the results of the sessions. Yours sincerely, Sheila Granger, clinical hypnotherapist. And I'll just send it off. Now, I don't expect a reply. It's just you put yourself on their radar. That's all. And then when we finish the sessions, I'm going to write back again with the results. So what I'm doing is writing professional to professional all the time. And over a period of time, this starts to build up. So the client, if a doctor seeing somebody and they've maybe got type 2 diabetes and the patient's asking what they're going to do. You can say, oh, I've had some really good results from this person. So they're going to start referring people to you. And, building our practice out is all about how many people know about us and education, so that you are on people's radar all the time. Okay, let me go back to my PowerPoint. Okay, yeah, so there's just a few other people. I've got plenty of before and after images. And what going back when I did the virtual gastric band to start with, what I really like again is not just how it impacted on clients, it was also how it helped people build their business. And I do survey people every now and again, and people who were trained, saw an average return of £83,000 on their training. And when I saw that figure come in from this survey, I just thought, I should have done a franchise. You've been an idiot. I could have been laying on a beach by now. But it allowed hypnosis practitioners, to not just help the clients, but also to build a business out. And because as well, as for the press and media, they always write like a nice weight loss story. And this is where we win every time in our profession, because, they, you can normally land a story in the media because we've always got that, I'm a hypnotist, and that immediately creates curiosity with the media. Immediately, you're already seen to be something different. And although print media is something that's obviously gone right down, and so people don't tend to think so much about sending media stories anymore, if you think of all the online space that they have got to continually fill, you could go and work with a journalist, you could go and work with a radio presenter. We've got Easter coming up. You could go and work with a radio presenter on chocolate addiction. There is so many things that we can do. And, when you land a nice media story, especially about weight loss, I had one lady in New Zealand, she took 100 phone calls in a day about her hypnosis for weight loss. That would be a nice position to be in, wouldn't it? 100 new clients in one day. And that's what can happen when we have a really great story for the media. Because what the media are doing as well is they are almost saying, they're endorsing what it is that you're doing. The other thing is about media stories is, I mentioned earlier about having that trust factor, the before and after stuff, the images of the thank you cards or whatever else that you've got, when you've landed in the media, it's an asset that lives with you forever. I'm still trading on being on BBC, 15 years ago and whenever it was. I'm still trading on that now. Because on my website, it will say, as featured on the BBC, Australia Today, Radio 5 Live, Daily Telegraph, Lanzarote News. So somebody landing on my website thinks, oh, this person must know what we're talking about. You've got that instant trust thing going on all the time. So, from a website perspective, it's called trust. It's like trust signals. What are the trust signals that you're putting out? Encourages people to take the next step with you. And that next step may just well be booking a consultation. I don't try and get anybody to buy on my website. I don't want them to because I haven't spoken to them. I don't know if I can help them or not. But I want to be able to lay eyes on them. I want to have a consultation. So, when we look at a marketing perspective, it's about getting somebody to take the next step. So the next step is purely book the consultation. Because I know if I have a consultation, 9 times out of 10, they will book the session straight away. And don't know if anybody else finds that once you've got the consultation, it moves. So Jackie, you said, yeah, it moves to a session. So why try and sell sessions? You know, we just need to sell the consultation. That's all. We just sell the consultation. The other thing I would suggest that you all do, I'm going to get back onto weight loss in a minute and not onto marketing, but what I would suggest that you all do is on your websites, in the top third of your website, there needs to be a video of you talking. So it just needs to just a 2-minute video, non-salesy. Just say something like, hi, I'm Sheila Granger. Thanks for visiting my website today. I'm sure you're here because you're looking for some help with blah, 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 blah. I traditionally work with clients who blah, blah, and blah. To know if it's suitable for you, what I would always recommend is just an initial chat. There's no obligation. And if you want to do that, just book this button next to the web video, and I look forward to seeing you soon. What's happening is they're laying eyes on you straight away as a person, and they're seeing that you're a normal person. You're a normal human being. And, I don't know who on this webinar, if I decided, I think I need to go and see a personal trainer, and they booked in to see a personal trainer at the gym, and this 20-year-old lithe, muscle-bound, long-haired kind of lady appeared, I'd be like, I'm not doing this. Because, some of the gentlemen might be different about that. They think, well, bring it on. Stefano's like, yeah, I'll sign up for 12 months. Generally, we want somebody who we can relate to, who we think, oh, you're normal. You're horribly normal. It makes people feel more comfortable. So, put a video on your website. And while you're at it, for your Google profile, make videos for there as well. Because on your Google profiles now, if you've got a Google profile, you can have, they call it a media carousel. It's within it. And you can have a video that's playing on autoplay within the listings. Need to do that. And the other thing with your Google profile, I would put multiple videos on there. It'll only allow short ones, but it might be a little video introducing yourself, a little video of your therapy room, what happens when somebody books a consultation, who's hypnosis suitable for. You're giving more education than anybody else on those profiles. So naturally, Google are going to send you more people, and you are going to become more trustworthy in those people's eyes as well. Right then, let's get back to weight loss. Let's get back. Where am I up to with my thing? Share. Okay, so if you're going to get a hypnosis weight loss business or program to fly, it needs, 2 things really. It needs a program that works, so we know that it's going to work for people, and you've got to do some proper kind of marketing or client education. So those videos can be the start of your client education about things. So my very favourite bit then. Let's I'm going to get my payback on Stefano now, I think, because he ate all that pasta. Place. I don't think everybody saw that, Stefano. Could you just show that again, just for the people who weren't? But so if everybody look at Stefano, Stefano's doing a drawing. Oh dear, I've got a comedian on this call. So sometimes then when you work with a client for weight loss, there might be a specific food that they could maybe be useful for them to eat less of. I don't know if any of you on the call today can think, for some people it would be, it's okay if I could just stop eating chocolate. I'm definitely like a creature of habit. And I do have, listen to this self-talk, I do have a bit of an addictive personality. And I just move from one thing to the next. So I'll start something, then it just like increases massively. So I'll give you an example. When I was being all very good, I used to think, and it was in the winter months, I thought, oh, what I'm going to do on an evening is I'm going to have one of those low-calorie hot chocolate drinks. That's going to be my treat on an evening. That'll be nice. I'll have that. So I started, and that was okay. All right, it's full of chemicals, but it was okay. And then I thought, oh, I'll just have a chocolate bourbon biscuit with that. I think I bought some bourbons for you, didn't I, Cheryl? Did I bring them over? Yeah, I did. So for those not in the UK, they're just like little two-sided chocolate biscuits, and they've got like a bit like fondant chocolate in the middle, very Moorish. They're only about so big, and they're not the end of the world. So I started my hot chocolate drink, and I thought, oh, just have a bourbon biscuit with that. The next night, already the next night I've increased it. The next night, I'm like, oh, I have 2 chocolate bourbon biscuits with that. The following night, I'll have 3 chocolate bourbon biscuits with that. And then the following day, I'll have one at lunchtime as well. I'll have one mid-afternoon with a mid-afternoon coffee. Before I know it, I'm doing half a packet of chocolate bourbon biscuits a day. We can soon build habits form really quickly, don't they? Really quickly. So yeah, absolutely, Debbie. That was my justification. They've shrunk, so you can eat more of them. So for some people it might be chocolate or perhaps bread. Stefano, it might be pasta. It's better if it's something specific for this exercise. It's better so I don't want you to think, oh, carbs, or could do to eat less sugar. Try and make it something specific because it's a lot more effective. And I want you to think as well, when you would eat that thing, where would you be? So it might be, oh, I'm sitting in my lounge on an evening, or oh, it's when I'm driving my car, or can we all just give me a wave if you can think of something that would be good to eat less of? Yeah, and we got it. Popcorn, Marsha, excellent idea. Popcorn is a brilliant one, absolutely brilliant one. Okay, let's go for it then. Let's go for it. So again, all we're going to use is our imaginations. So when you're ready, all I would like you to do is to sit yourself back and close your eyes. Then just take a couple of deep breaths. I'd like you to imagine breathing in a bit of relaxation and breathing out any worries, stress. Just breathing in relaxation. And I'd like you to imagine something for me. I'd like you to imagine that by your side right now is a big empty bucket, a big empty vat. And I'd like you to imagine if all and any of your bits and bobs of excess body fat were dripped and drained away into that bucket, what that fat would look like. If all and any of your bits and bobs of excess body fats were dripped and drained away into that bucket, what that fat would look like. And for some of you, there might just be a couple of little drips. Maybe for some of you, there's more. I don't know, but you do. And I want you to notice the colour of that fat in that bucket. Oh, some people imagine it's yellow or white or brown or pink streaks. What's the colour of that? Oh, the colour of the fats in that bucket. And the consistency, if you could feel it, what's it feel like? Is it cold, lumpy, stringy, gooey? What would it feel like if you could feel it? And if you could smell it, if you could smell the fat, in that bucket, what it might smell like. Because some people imagine, it's like old chicken fat, or I don't know. Well, what would it smell like if you could smell it? Because I'm sure you wouldn't choose to allow that fat back into your body. So I'd like you to see yourself in your mind's eye the times that you go and eat that thing. Maybe when you get the popcorn out, Marsha. Maybe it's sitting in your lounge, or maybe it's somewhere else. But I want you to see yourself in your mind's eye. And before you put that thing into your mouth, I'd like you to imagine dipping it into that bucket. Ugh. Get a big, oof, get a big blob of that fat on the end of it. Really, really noticing the colour of it, the consistency of it. Oh, you're getting a big blob of that fat. Ugh. Because I'm sure you wouldn't choose to allow that fat back into your body. But from this moment forward, you can begin to enjoy a wonderful, calm, relaxed feeling of leaving that food you no longer need, for all the reasons that it'd be good for you to leave it. Enjoy a wonderful, relaxed feeling of the leave. And when you're ready, you can simply open your eyes and come back to the here and now.
Oh, what do you think about how she does those sound effects? I mean, I have tried to duplicate that. She's amazing. We just need to take that piece of the recording and use it.
You've got to get like you're going to full like blown actor or actress mode. So Michelle feels so ill to her stomach. Marsha, how are you feeling about the popcorn? um, um, Jack, I feel lighter. My belly is on the bucket. Oh dear. Let's have a look. So not a nice feeling in my throat. Nice bit of gagging on the chocolate. Yeah, chocolate, Stefano. How do you feel about it now? Chocolates. What does that? um. Quavers and the chips. Yeah. Ooh. Um. So. Yeah, it's horrible, isn't it? Great fun though. So obviously, when we're working with a client with that, we're going to get some feedback from them. So we're going to get them to imagine that bucket. I will get them to imagine that they're sitting where they would normally eat that food. So put them in the place where they do that thing. Maybe it is they're sitting on the couch, but in hypnosis, get them to imagine being there. Then we start on the bucket, and then when we start on, okay, so what colour is it? And you can give them a little bit of prompting. You can say, some people imagine it's yellow, brown, white. They want you to tell me what colour it is, and they will give you a colour. Maybe, let's imagine they'll say it's brown. Okay, so that brown fat in that bucket, what's the consistency of it? They might say, oh, it's like cold and gooey. Okay, so that brown, cold, gooey fat in that bucket. If you could smell it, what smell is it? Oh, it's like old chicken fat. Okay, so that brown, gooey, chicken fat smelling fat in that bucket, and let them build the picture up. So, we're using those kind of NLP kind of approaches to get them to find out. The other, you could do a double whammy as well. So sometimes before I start the session, I'll find out what the client doesn't like. What I'll say, is there any food you couldn't eat? And even if some people might say, well, I can eat most things. Well, so I'll give you an example. I mean, I don't know if any of you can think of something from childhood that's kind of put you off something for life. So my mum, she used to cook something called belly pork. And she used to cook it under the grill. And the real reason that I can still see it now sitting under that grill, because it still had some of the hairs on from the animal. So even to this day, the thought of kind of eating that, I was just like, boom, couldn't do that. So, so let's have a look. Debbie for mussels. Okay. Um, I think that's is that eels, Stefana, eels. Yeah. Liver. Oh yeah, Adrienne, liver. Ugh. Eels and rabbit. Oof. And Cheryl, extra soft, slimy eggs would make me gag. I hate. Oh yeah, when it's not cooked on the top and it's still got that bit. Still got that bit of slime hanging about. um. Okay, so Debbie, let's get Debbie on. Just unmute yourself a minute, lovely.
Here I am.
Okay. Here she is. So Debbie, what's the thing that you wanted to eat less of?
Just general portions. I don't eat big portions, but I eat everything.
Oh, yeah, okay. So just for this perspective, we could do to have something specific.
Okay. Crunchy bars.
Oh, I likes them. I can ask for bar.
I don't have them often, but my other half has a habit of buying them at the shop and, assuaging me because he's already been and bought a bottle of something.
Crunchy
Beer or
bar.
something. Yeah.
Crunchy bar. So, and then tell me then, Debbie, what is it about mussels that you couldn't eat?
Gritty and the texture. I really don't like the texture. That chewy. Bleh. Bleh.
Right.
That's all I can say.
None of us are going to want to eat after the end of this class, are we? This way,
the gritty is just, you take a bite and you've got sand in your teeth. It's just like, oh, yuck.
All right, okay. Yes.
Bad
right,
enough
okay.
eat your toes all day, let alone in your mouth.
Yeah, right, okay. So, Debbie, what I'd like you to do for me, and we only need to do it with our eyes closed, if you're okay to go ahead with this, with your just with your eyes closed, for me. I want you to imagine that you have two plates in front of you. On one plate, there's a crunchy bar. It's kind of been broken up into smaller pieces. But you can maybe even, I don't know, maybe you can smell what that crunchy bar's like. But the crunchy bar's sitting there on that plate. On the other plate, there is those eels. Sorry, mussels. And I want you to imagine getting a spoon and spooning some of the insides of that mussel and mixing it in with those bits of crunchy bar. And you can imagine that kind of grit, the texture of them. You can kind of chewy, sand in your teeth. Oof. But just get another spoonful of those inside of those mussels and mixing them round and round in with that crunchy, that's grit, that texture, that chewy there, until all of it's completely mixed together with the crunchy. Oh dear. But from this moment forward, you can enjoy this feeling of just indifference to that crunchy. And when you're ready, just open your eyes and come back to the here and now.
Oh, that was horrid. That was really horrid. Oh,
It's a pleasure.
You're far too generous.
Yeah.
That really was. I could feel my stomach just really gripping and feeling, and I was and I could smell it, that salty, gritty. I don't mind the salty smell, but the salty, gritty with that burnt sugar of the, oh,
Excellent. Well, thank you very much, Debbie. Everybody who come with me. Thank you to Debbie for being picked on, because I didn't actually give her an option.
Yeah, no, I'm good at that. Yeah.
Good job, Sheena. Okay. I'm just going to. Why is my screen gone funny to what I can see? Oh, I'll just get rid of that a second. Oh, that's it. There you go. Just so I can see everybody. Yeah. Anyone for a crunchy bar? So you can find out what the client doesn't like and why they don't like it. What is it about this thing that they don't like? And then we're going to feed it back and back and back and back. And just mix these two things together. Okay, so where am I up to with my thing? Are we all doing okay so far? Yeah. And is it helpful? That's the main thing. Is it being helpful? Good. So we've done specifics. So types, what are we on to now? Okay, so when we're looking to create demand then within it for a weight loss business, we've got to ask ourselves, can I be found? Do enough people know about me? Is your website attracting people for something or detracting? And does your website answer all the questions that the client may have? So it's no good us just saying, I offer this program, it's X number of sessions, we change how you think about food. It probably doesn't mean enough to people. So, writing articles on it, how it works, why it works, who else it's worked for, is it suitable for type 2 diabetes? The more we can think like a customer or a potential client, the better. And one of the things with marketing now on your website, what we should have is something called pillar content and cluster content. So pillar is this is my main thing about my program that I offer. And then off that will be lots of cluster contents. So that might be who hypnosis is suitable for. If we're talking weight loss, it might be an article about metabolism. It might be an article about specific foods. It might be an article about cravings. And everything comes off as a cluster from this main pillar content. And again, when we're looking at creating content for our website, the same content can be used on your Google profile as well. On your Google profile, there is a question and answer bit, which generally is really for our potential client to type into Google, onto your Google profile. Could you tell me how you help with this? I have never ever had a single person has asked me a question through my Google profile. However, what you can do is ask the questions yourself and answer them yourself. So think of 10 questions that a client might have about your services and, ask them in your Google profile and answer them. Because again, you're providing more content and more education than anybody else. And people are thinking about this anyway. The other thing that's recently changed with Google profiles is that you can link your WhatsApp to it. So you can have WhatsApp on your Google profile. I would recommend that you have WhatsApp on everything, on web pages, on your social media posts. 90% of my inquiries come through WhatsApp as the first point of call. 90%. Now, don't get me wrong, what I really want is just a client to fill in the contact me on my website, send me a thing about what they want, and then I get back to them when I'm ready. But, I am running a business. It can't work like that. We want businesses to come back to us quickly, don't we? When we don't hear anything back, we think, I wonder if that person's got that message, or maybe I should start looking somewhere else. That's really what's happening. So, you know, and then so if they find you and you've got decent content, oh, I can WhatsApp this person, and then you WhatsApp them back in like within an hour. They think, oh, this is helpful. I don't need to start looking anywhere else. Now, even I might get a WhatsApp message at 11 o'clock at night. Of course, I don't want to talk to anybody then. But, you know, if I see it on an evening, I will message back and saying, thanks ever so much for getting in touch. Lovely to hear from you. Can I give you a call at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning? You know, the big thing is they know that they've got through to a real person. You've answered them and you've told them when you're going to call them back. And that will probably be enough for them not, or at least take your call, even if they've tried to contact other people as well. So say 90% of my stuff is coming through WhatsApp. People want different methods of like communication these days. So we can't force them down a route of communication that we want. It's got to be how they want to interact with people. So definitely put WhatsApp on. And saying you can have it on your Google profile. The other thing you can do on your Google profiles at the moment is you can link your social media to it. So you can link it to your Facebook, to your LinkedIn, any of your social media channels. You can land people directly from it, from your Google profiles now. So a little quick tip for you. Now in a minute, I think I'm nearly coming to the end of what I was going to tell you. Let me just double check on my PowerPoint. 1 second. Where am I up to? Oops. Oh no, there's more. There's more. So the other thing, you know, is to think about how you can maybe also create different income streams with it as well. You know, obviously early on when I started my practice and I said I built it to 50 clients a week, I never thought in these terms. I just thought one-on-one clients, one-on-one clients. But, you know, especially with weight loss, is something that you can easily deliver in a group. On average, with groups, I will get about 75 people on a group for weight loss online. With groups, you're making it more affordable for people. So perhaps people who can't afford you one-to-one are getting another avenue of being able to work with you. Your actual hourly rate is increasing massively. So I tend to charge probably less than 25% of what my one-on-one price would be in a group. But you know, then it's a numbers game. If I've got 75 people, I'm on a lot higher hourly rate. You know, you might want to think about little online courses or downloadable audios that people can buy, you know, because you want to be able to let somebody choose their level of spend. So it could be that somebody, you know, can't do the one-to-one, don't want to do the group, or can't afford the group either. You know, are there some audios that they can buy? Because if they buy the audios, they might actually down the line become somebody who comes into your group, or you might have had a group session, but the people who are in the group, you know, some of those will become one-to-one people. So, you know, having those different income streams, you know, what do you want your ideal income and lifestyle to look like? Because we can get to choose that as a hypnotist. We just have to put the thought behind it. So, you know, other models. Oops, no, going back. No, going back. The other thing then to think about, you know, for you know, repeat business to get more clients into you is to think, you know, do you have a proper follow-up and referral system in place? You know, so when we do the consultation, are we writing to the doctor? Are we identifying other areas that perhaps we could help? With weight loss, again, this is easily done. You can offer some continuity package. What we tend to do as hypnotists is sack people. Done the work, bye-bye, where I am if you need me. And we rely on them getting back in touch with us. If you're seeing somebody for weight loss, you might want to offer some continuity. So because after 4 weeks, they may not be where they want to be. So could you then offer, you can come back every month, do it at a different price for people, you're offering some continuation. The other thing is about keeping in touch. I keep in touch with everybody. We want to be, it might be a newsletter that goes out, it might be sending them a text message. We need to keep in touch with people because we want to keep ourselves top of mind all the time, top of mind. And often people who buy one thing from you will come and buy something else from you, or they will refer other people to you. Do you need to put a proper kind of referral system in place? What are you doing to encourage one client to talk to many more people about you? And to also, understand your client's network. All our clients have a network and they can probably introduce us to other people. And it's amazing where it can end up. Absolutely amazing. I think there's one particular lady, in fact, she's recently sent her son to see me, and I can't have heard from her for about 6 years. And all of a sudden, her son's started coming for some anxiety sessions. Actually, no, I'm confusing two people. I want to tell you about a different one. Not that one because it's not as relevant for today. So I was doing some work with this lady for weight loss. Her husband was the coach of a little teenagers football team. And one night after a session, she was telling me that this football team were trying to move up the league. But they were playing this team of big lads who had completely annihilated them the previous year. The score had been 11-1. So they were going into this game thinking, we're going to lose, we're going to lose, we're going to lose. So I just said to her, if you want, I'll just come and do an hour with them and just work on their mindset towards this. And I said, there'll be no charge. It's only around the corner. I'm quite happy to do it. I went and did an hour's kind of coaching with them, and they went to play this game. Now, they didn't win, but the score was 5-4, so a massive difference from 11-1. The score was 5-4. I then sent a release to my local media, who came and took a photograph of these kids, and they were happy because they were all in the newspaper. How mindset had changed everything for them. At the time, I didn't know it, but it was the coming up to the European Football Championships. And so the bigger newspapers were feeding out the smaller ones. The Sun newspaper picked it up, used it as a leading story to the European Football Championships, to how much of football is a head game. Because it was in a main newspaper, Radio 5 Live, one of the biggest radio stations, picked it up, wanted to interview me about it. But it didn't stop there, because the international papers feed out some of the British ones. So the Times of India picked the story up, and on the front page, Britain's leading hypnotist. Now, you couldn't pay enough for that label. You couldn't pay enough for it. All from letting one thing kind of lead you to another. Our client has a lot of networks. Do we use them enough? When I was looking to get a lot of work in schools and colleges, this is the prior one where this lady's son is now coming for anxiety. This lady came to see me. Her children were at private school. And at the time, I was trying to get more work in schools and colleges. And I said to her after the session, just out of interest, which school do your children go to? And she named this private school. And I said, oh, that's interesting. I said, I'm doing quite a bit of work in schools and colleges at the moment. And she said, are you doing some work there? And I said, no, it'd be ideal for me though. And she said, oh, you need to talk to Mr. So-and-so at the school. And I said, well, the thing is, Mr. So-and-so doesn't really know me. Would you be willing to have a conversation with him and see if he'll just take a phone call from me. I kid you not, within 30 minutes of leaving my office, that gentleman was on the phone ringing me up. So, it's amazing how we can tap in to our clients' network all the time. And that's the other big thing about keeping in touch. When we keep in touch, I could ring up a client now who came to see me a year ago. So I could think, oh, I think that lady was connected at that business. I wonder if she could help me. I'll give her a ring. And I'm all right to do that because I've kept in touch with her all the time. Now, if I've not kept in touch with anybody, so I have zero relationship anymore, then you can't really go and ask for those things. The other thing as well is, why do we worry about keeping in touch? And I think sometimes we worry, what if they've fallen off the bandwagon? What if it's not working for them anymore? That's what worries us, isn't it? That's why we think, oh no, I don't catch them. What if? But what if it hasn't? What if it was the best thing they ever did? So, it gives us testimonial for a longer period of time. The other thing is, if it hasn't worked, I would want to know about that as a business owner, as a hypnotist. I would want to know that that hasn't worked. Because if it hasn't worked, it gives me a chance to do something about it. It gives me a chance to learn something. It gives me a chance to improve something. I don't want a client out there walking around when anybody has a conversation with them and, oh, it worked for a while, but it stopped working. I don't want that. I need to know. Because it's the only way we grow and we develop is if we know. So, I think I'm nearly at the point of questions. I can't believe I've talked for so long. I can't believe you've all listened for so long. So I hope you've all enjoyed that. And
you had a question back in the chat from Stefano at the beginning about and
yeah, I did. I'm just rolling back to it now.
Oh, yes. How do you deal with the pressure from family and friends who are large themselves and keep pushing food towards the client? The client is afraid of losing the friends because that is the only connection they have with that group.
Yeah, I mean, outside influence is a biggie, isn't it? It's a biggie. And I would suggest that, we're going to have to start with, I would make it simple and just run with mental rehearsal of that situation. The client has got to decide how they're going to do that situation differently. At the moment, it's a habit loop, isn't it? We fall into, that's how we react when we're with them. That's how we behave when we're with them. Are there any small changes that can be made? But then a bit like the sports person going to play the game, set them up in advance, that mental rehearsal that they've run through and that they feel comfortable with it. Yeah, I feel all right doing that. So maybe it's not completely changing it to start with, just gradual ones. But using, or sometimes I might have a client who says, they're going away at the weekend, or they're going out for a meal with some friends during the week, and they're really worried they're going to completely blow everything. The other thing to remember is that if that's just a one-off occasion, then there's always going to be times when we eat more. And it's not what we do on one occasion, it's what we do over the whole week. Again, we've got a little bit of a diet mentality with things that, if I do something wrong, I've overeaten, oh, that's it, I've completely blown it. Whereas I always say to clients, if you look at naturally thin people, they do occasionally go out and absolutely stuff themselves. But the following day, they're just back to the norm for them. So if it's a one-off, it's not the end of the world. But if they want to change something about it, then we're going to have to take some kind of mental rehearsal approach to that change.
I would also say, Sheila, that Yeah. I wanted to add, Sheila, like with smoking, it's black or white. You're not going to smoke, and you might sit there and let other people smoke, but you're still choosing not to. With food, you're still eating. So just like Sheila had us eating less, with the virtual jab, you can still taste that's really good, and you're just taking a lot less and eating a lot less and eating much slower, doing a lot of chews in between, but you're still visiting and having the food without having to fill the plate. Nope, that's fine. This is great. So you're still getting to enjoy, if they're foodies. I was married to an Italian my first marriage, and the pasta and the sundaes, and so yeah, still having a little. I think that makes that difference. You just don't have to eat the whole plate of pasta. I usually you know, I usually put my portion, I fill my plate rather than let somebody else, or just say that's enough, so that also helps. Right. Were there more questions? What do you cover in the 4 sessions? Marcia asked.
Okay, so it really depends to a certain extent what the client presents with. I would look to put the foundations in place on the first session, so that could be around getting them to eat 3 times a day. That's when you could be installing gastric band, or you could be looking at the weight loss jab side of things, on the goal setting, and you might be doing some future pacing. And then on the second session, we're going to look at what falls out for the first session. What have they done well? What have they managed to do well? What have they struggled with? And so we might work on that, and they might work on specific foods. The third session, we're then going to look at the fallout from it. So you might then need to bring some parts into it, or again, they might be doing okay, and then you're just reinforcing and keeping the motivation high. So it really depends what they come up with to what changes from week to week. I have got. Let me just organise myself again. It's interesting actually that this is on this, or today is this session, because I've got until Wednesday. I've got a special offer running, pretty much, and it just happened to coincide with today's training. It runs until Wednesday, and there's 3 options. There's 3 options because originally there was only 2, but then somebody said, "Oh, could you not do this third option of this?" So I thought, all right, okay, I'll do 3 options. So you can learn the full practitioner training. It's a video training program for virtual gastric band and for the weight loss jab. It would come with a full working in groups training and a translation of that. So you would see word for word what it is that I do in a group and how I market it. And you'd also get a full marketing training guide of all the different things you can do to market yourself in this area. Normally, all of that will be like over $1,500. Until Wednesday, it's at $380 for the whole lot. You get scripts for every session. I don't think we should work with scripts, but I've got to give people something. But you'll be able to start using it literally straight away. Once you've had a chance to go through everything, you can contact me at any time for a Zoom call, and I can get on a call with you and help you further with stuff. So there's that. The second option is if you want to actually experience all this for yourself over 4 sessions. So on Wednesday, April the 9th, it's at 6:30 UK, which would be 1:30 PM EST. I'm doing a drop a dress size 4-session group program, 4 1-hour sessions. You could experience it for yourself. You would also get recordings, and you would get the transcript of the whole lot after those 4 weeks, so that you could go and do it yourself. And that's at $125. I'll pop a link in the chat box that has all this on it. And the third option is to do all of it, to experience it, train in it, do the lot. This was the third option that somebody asked me for the other day. And usually that'd be it's a $1,649 value until Wednesday's up at 461. But there is a page that's that's been pulled together on this. I'll drop it into the chat box, and then you can see it in full if it's something that you're interested in for yourself. Let me drop it in there. I'm going to drop that in there. And I'm also going to pop in the chat box my email address. So if anybody, after today's session thinks, oh, do you know, I could have just done to have asked you this, then do just send me an email. Find me on Facebook. I've got a business page, obviously, Sheila Granger. My personal Facebook, which is what I tend to interact more on, to be honest with you, is Sheila Elaine Granger is my personal Facebook. So send me a friend request, connect with me. But I'm always happy to help. With the training as well, you get things like a listing on my website, complimentary, and you would get training certificates, all those kind of things. Pretty much what you would normally get with a training. Cheryl,
So
anything else?
I would like to say, since I don't know, I was in a trance when we started. So it was like you started and oh yeah, I guess I was rude. So I want to make sure I get the out here of saying that I know Sheila, we met back in 2011 as we worked together at a conference at Shepperton Film Studio. And I have trained with her. We have done conferences together. She always delivers, and more than anybody. She's very, very generous with her time, with her knowledge. So and I did take virtual gastric bands. I actually originally took it with Jason Lynette, who was one of her trainers in Virginia years ago. And it's really good. I love the idea of the new jab, which I have been taking, by the way. So it's interesting. I'd much rather go to virtual jab, so I'm going to really look at that because it's been bothering me that I'm taking it, but I have lost a bunch of weight. I also want to say that I have been for 5 years. I've been in her hypnosis growth club. And I'm just throwing this in here. I know it's like a mixed message, but if you would like to network and learn with other people globally, if you would want to get to hear Sheila every week on all different topics, I just have to say that I gained so much. Also, it's always recorded. I don't get there every week, but every time I go, I gain so much. So if you're developing or you want some business direction or even learning, networking, business, therapy, marketing, it's all there. And so I just wanted to throw that in. Since I didn't do that introduction, I'm giving it to you as you definitely want to. How many people have enjoyed learning from Sheila? Raise your hands.
Oh, good.
Okay.
Thank you.
And
Thank
she
you.
is available.
Jackie, thank you for your really kind comments as well. Really appreciate it. I mean, I'm just a big believer in giving back. I think if you kind of study any successful business, they all find a way to give back. And kind of doing these webinars and sharing anything that I can possibly do to help anybody else, somehow hopefully makes the world a better place. And we're all learning and growing all the time. And I don't think we can ever stop in this field. We've got to keep learning, got to keep growing and being the best that we can possibly be for our clients. So yes, a few people in. I'll have to just talk amongst yourselves for a moment. I'm just going to find the link to the Growth Club. I never even thought about that. And I don't think Cheryl's rude really for not introducing me. I was only kidding.
Hi, I have one question before. I don't want you guys to close.
Sure.
I held my questions. I didn't put them in the chat so that I could pay attention.
Good. We would love it. Go ahead and ask. Ask away, Adrian.
Okay. So my first question, I have 7, was about women and menopause, because I know whatever weight loss method, men always seem to it just melts off immediately. And we women, even if you're not menopausal, it's a process. And so I was wondering, is there a difference for perimenopausal or postmenopausal women?
Yeah, so I mean, it's a great question. And yeah, obviously everything can slow down, obviously, when menopause comes, but it also it is about working with the person as an individual. What is actually impacting on them, and what can we do to change that? As opposed to, okay, this person's going through menopause, I have to do things that are completely different.
Okay.
I mean, the other thing is obviously is about people's belief systems as well. Sometimes we definitely can use it as a reason why things aren't happening. I'm like this because. Whereas let's look at, well, what can we actually change?
Okay. Because I've seen some weight loss when I look at weight loss programs, I always look at the pictures, and it's always, men of all ages, but very often it's younger women. And so I'm always looking, well, do they have women who might be in menopause? And when they don't, I'm like, that's a problem. So for my own, I guess, social proof, that's something that I look for. So I was curious. My other question is, you talked about the medical community. So I'm a retired family medicine doc and new hypnotist. I got certified in December. And thank you. I have worked with patients and just talking to people about their, there's just not enough knowledge of what healthy is and what hunger is. And I've had patients say, well, you're hungry when your stomach rumbles. And I'm like, well, that's, so how do you get to those? Because if they assume what they're experiencing or what they think is normal, they may not share that in the conversation. And so that may be a belief or an understanding that they think is just a truth. How do you unveil that?
So it could also just be out of, it could just be out of a conversation, or where we're actually educating on a hunger scale. What actually is hunger?
Mm-hmm.
I had one gentleman, he ate really healthily, but he said, I never feel hungry and I never feel full. And I said, oh, that's interesting. I said, what I want you to do is I don't want you to eat again until you are physically hungry. And I explained, okay, what might that look like? So he didn't have any health issues, so there was no worries about making him do that. He went, before he actually felt hungry, before his body said, feed me, 3 days. 3 days. And then at that point, once he obviously it had been turned on in his brain what hunger was, but also he also knew what, okay, that means I've had enough, that point.
Mhm.
You know, I explain to clients, you know, when we feel full, we've already eaten too much. That feeling is our stomach having been stretched out.
Right.
You know, so a lot of people don't even understand that scale. You know, when we're feeling hungry from here upwards, that is just a craving. That isn't us being hungry. And somehow it is about the education.
Yeah.
I was just curious about if I don't want to hold up. Is there anybody else that has a question? I didn't want to. No? Okay. How do clients feel? Because I feel I'm a little overweight.
I just got, well, sorry, I'm talking over someone. Am I sorry?
Oh.
I had one. Did someone else want to go first? Sorry, did I talk over someone?
Go on,
Adrian, were you
Jackie.
talking? Sorry.
It's all right.
It was about the weight loss jab, because I shared something the other day on my profile about the deaths that we're seeing with it, and that's, sorry, Cheryl, but the sad side of it. And yet someone else commented that with the diabetes people, but something to do with the way someone that was come to see me a few weeks ago with ADHD, and they said the jab had quietened her thoughts down, and that's one of the reasons she'd continued to take it. I'd never heard that as anyone else. So
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really common one as well, that with the noise in somebody's head about it, that has also reduced when somebody has been taking the jab as well. Now, whether that's actually real or whether that's just it's something has changed in them and their belief system, but yeah, that is definitely a thing with that. What I would suggest as hypnotists, rather than that we are saying that, oh, you know, there's all these horror stories, you shouldn't do the job, there's all these you know, kind of that, I don't like that fear kind of marketing. I don't think it's helpful to us. I think it's helpful for us to educate, well, you know, they could actually do some hypnosis program alongside. If they want to take the jab, then maybe do some hypnosis program alongside it that is changing.
And there's something else I realized as well, because I've got a level 5 qualification in nutrition, and I know that, you know, a lot of processes make our head jumpy anyway. And I think, without really understanding it, if they're not taking that food in any more because of the lack of food, less food going in and better food choices, then that's going to naturally quiet anyway, isn't it?
Yeah. And that's it, isn't it? You've got when we're hearing these things, we aren't actually hearing the full picture of something, are we? So, okay, so what were you eating before? What are you eating now? What types of food? You know, because a lot of things come into play, don't they? But I think, you know, you could, you know, you've got a lot going in your favour because, you know, you've got that nutritional side of it as well. So I actually think, you know, you educating people of you know, how all this stuff works, if you like, is probably the biggest thing to do.
Right. And I thank
The
you.
jab
And I
does
think
work
Debbie had
on-
a question. I'm sorry, Debbie, did you have one question? I thought you raised your hand.
No, I
Debbie
was going to
Reachin.
say actually what Jack was saying about the voice being quietened, because I've been working with a long time client who's under a lot of stress with work and family issues, and he has the money just to jump into these things whenever he wants. And he was saying his voice in his head, the ADHD voice, gets quieter. And I thought that was really interesting. But there's something going on with the drug that
the mechanism of action of the drug. It actually works on the brain, and that's intentional. So it is a real result of
it's a real thing.
Okay. Sheila, I have to thank you so much for coming today and
Can
for
I
doing
finish,
this.
or are we done?
Do you have
Adrienne,
one
did
more
you have?
question?
Yeah, I wanted to know about if the hypnotist is a little overweight or a lot overweight, do we ourselves need to do this so that it's more congruent for it's like going to a bald hairdresser, you know?
Well, yeah, and I get what you're saying, Adrienne. I don't think you have to be perfect at all. I am way from perfect. The person has to relate to you. But one thing that you can do is talk about your journey. Like I've had people, I don't know, maybe come on, drop a dress size, or they've done one of the training programs, and they decided to take a daily video of their journey. So, some of you know, I've kind of struggled with this. And so what I'm doing is this. And so it's day one today. I'm all excited. I'm all motivated. I'll let you know tomorrow how it's gone. And then there's day two, okay, it's day two. I've definitely eaten smaller amounts, but I have got a bit of a voice in my head that wants that chocolate tonight. So it's about, but what I'm doing to overcome it is this. Now, if you were to do that and, by week day 7, you're saying, okay, so it's day 7, I've stepped on the scales, I'm 5 pounds lighter, so something's happening, I feel really good, I can't, but you've been very honest with it. That's the kind of the point, which is why, if you talked about the bits you were struggling with, other people relate to that and think, this person's been quite completely honest. But then you could by, I don't know, day 10, if you were then to say, because of what I've been seeing with this, I'm now offering it to my clients. Do you want to come on this journey? I've got a group session starting next week. And people have been following that video all the way along.
Can you do the gastric and the jab together, or is there a contraindication?
No, I would do one or the other with people.
Okay. And with marketing, how often do you keep in touch with former clients so you maintain that connection, that relationship?
So I would initially text them after, let's say if we've done 4 weeks, then I'm going to get in touch with you in a couple of weeks just to check you're still okay. Obviously, you can contact me at any point, any issue. And then I might make it either it's just a monthly, or maybe I might put them on my newsletter or something that goes out. I mean, if you're going to email people, and I would recommend that you do, because, I wouldn't have, I would, you can have people in a Facebook group, but all you've got to be careful of is that you've got some other way to contact them, because, we've seen what happens, Facebook and goodbye. Stopped. And all of a sudden, you potentially lost all your customer base as well. So if we have people in an email list, I would look at this is the way I would look at it. How can I continuously add value to this person's life? So this isn't about necessarily selling anybody anything else. It's just, now, if for example you produced audio, now that could be maybe you've got a generalized one on stress and maybe a generalized one on anxiety, and or maybe you make audios for clients without the name on it. Then I could once a month just give that to people. So I could write a theme for the month and this month's newsletter and this month's free gift. You still keep in top of mind. And I always try to relate things to what's likely to be their next step on this journey. What is bothering people the most at the moment in everyday life. There's a lot of people, like weird enough, I've had 3 clients in the United States, and I don't want to get more political on this, but three clients in the United States who have pulled out of sessions recently because of the uncertainty You know, they were clients who were drawing a pension. And, you know, as I don't understand the full thing, but, you know, I understand that Elon Musk had taken over, and so, but he was worried that the pensions were going to stop. So, you know, definitely, if we can think about what's happening in the world and what people are likely to be feeling, how can we keep them inspired? How can I keep showing up in this person's life, but offering some kind of value, or even if it's just, you know, something that I've learned that's changed how I've thought about something, then, you know, you're still just keeping in touch. So if you were then keeping in touch, then, you know, there'll be nothing wrong with you then periodically saying, by the way, you know, I've got this group session, might be something you're interested in. This is what it looks like. And if they take it, great. If they don't, well, they're still going to get stuff of value from it going forward.
Right. Thank you. This was so valuable. I really appreciated it, and getting to meet other people in the hypnosis community. They're all so cool and so different, from the woo-woo to the, you know, engineers, very logical. So it's been great. And I'm going to my first hypno thought, so maybe I'll see some of you there. And I appreciate your time and generosity, Sheila, and I'll be reaching out. And thank you for Cheryl for the invite.
Thank you. I also wanted to say, Adrian, you're on our list now, so you'll get announcements of speakers coming up in the cafe. The next one is supposed to be Sean Michael Andrews. It was supposed to be April 12th, which I just looked today and said, oh, that is the first night of Passover. And we were going to do it in the late afternoon. So I'm going to contact him and reschedule that. And so watch for a notice of the next two things that'll be coming up. And I think he was going to do it on working with clients and migraines.
Right.
So, but don't know about the date. So Sheila, thank you so much as always. You are the best. Oh, look, you got a big red heart. And
nice
thank
to see
everybody for coming.
And
Adrian, yeah. And Adrian, Debbie Rishin also said, you know, it would be great to see you at the Growth Club, and we'll see you. A bunch of us are in there, and you'll get to network and lots of things. So thank you, and so much. So everybody, go ahead and unmute and make sure you tell Sheila what a great time you had. Everybody unmute, and I forgot to take a picture today, but. All right, ready?
Thank you so much.
Would you like me to take a picture?
Thank you.
Thank you.
I learn something every single time. Brilliant, thank you.
All right, take care. Thanks, Cheryl.
Thank you.